Good day, everyone. This is David Ellis, and today we have a very special guest on this show. A lot of people have heard of Sarah Fox. She is a cancer coach. She is a very qualified cancer coach, and she's very good as a clinician. I'm not going to take up time trying to introduce you and all your qualifications. Sarah, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, David. Yeah, I am Sarah Fox-Smith. I am a certified hematology oncology nurse with the Master's in Nursing, and I love coaching people through an oncology diagnosis, and I use an integrative approach. So it's a lot of fun to be able to come here today and talk about one of my offerings that I'm going to be putting on here in Regina, Saskatchewan. So thanks, David, for having me.
Okay, so one of the things that you guys don't know, Sarah likes to be in the background. She has actually assisted me with this IHN network remarkably. Sarah's actually rebuilding our website and webpage for us. Yes, so she's just not just a nurse and she's not here for her prettiness. She is a very useful lady. Sarah, thank you so much for all of you've done. Okay. Sarah's
Yeah, it's actually really exciting because I came to David with the idea to connect professionals in an integrative way. And so the Integrative Health Network came about from that because we really, really wanted to help practitioners offer their services more to patients and have their information about what they do and how they do it and how they help patients be more in the forefront in an integrative way. So it's really exciting to be here. So yeah, I'm thankful.
Okay, so let's get into what it is that you're offering the public. You have a very special event. Once again, we did My Body is My Power in June. I love that event. You have another very special event coming up. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I have been finding in my practice, I've been practicing for about 25 years with my cancer patients. And one of the things that I found was that people were doing things that helped them stay in remission. And I kind of went on a quest to find out what were they doing and what did that look like and how could I help them? Because I had been giving, chemotherapy, biotherapy for lots of years and supporting people through those treatments. But I knew there was other things that we could be doing. So I came across Dr. Kelly Turner's work on remission and what were the things that people did to help keep them in remission long-term that were happening worldwide. What were the practitioners doing and what were the patients doing? And she came up with 10 factors that really help you stay in remission and foster an environment in your body that allows it to really deeply heal. So she put together Radical Remission book, and then her second book was called Radical Hope. And so I took her training, and so now I'm going to be offering this workshop as an in-person workshop here in Regina at Thrive Naturopathic Clinic. And in that, we're going to be going over the 10 lifestyle factors that really actually make a difference. And Kelly Turner was really interesting because she did her PhD in remission, and she wanted to really understand the things that were common amongst people. And she put that together. And so in the workshop, we get to unpack those 10 common things, those common factors, and we'll learn that in a community environment. So I'm really excited to offer that with Thrive here in Regina.
Okay, so when people hear about radical remission, a number of things come to mind. Soft approach is not exactly what comes to mind when they hear radical remission. So you want to correct that?
Yeah. So let's actually just back up a little bit. But radical remission, it means that there's statistically an unlikely remission in which the person either they healed without conventional treatment, or they first tried conventional treatment and then they moved to complementary treatment and that brought them into remission, or they used a combination of conventional and complementary treatments to bring them into remission. So it could be a combination of those, but there was factors that influenced people moving into radical remission. And when we look at the word radical, it actually means root, is in the original text. And so what we're actually saying is, what's the root that needs to happen? What are roots that need to be formed or need to cut off in order to bring your body into remission? So we dive really deep into that in this workshop.
Okay, so I guess the next question I have is, what can people expect at this workshop?
Yeah, that's great. So what people can expect is meeting in a very small environment. Thrive has a really great setting in the back of their clinic where they do the IVs, and there's super comfy chairs, and we're going to be learning week by week the 10 lifestyle factors. So the 10 lifestyle factors are having a strong reason for living, empowerment, diet, supplements, emotions and how they play a role in our body's healing, our intuition, our support, connections, and exercise and movement. And each week we dive deep into each of those factors, and we have workshops, like a workbook that we work through. And I support you in that group, understanding what are some things that may be hindering your healing journey, or things that you're already doing that are really worthy of being celebrated.
Well, Sarah, it's very rare that I hear someone from conventional medicine talking about everything you just spoke about. So you're promoting a more integrative approach, which is what this network is really all about. You want to talk about what an integrative approach to healthcare is?
Yeah, I love talking about that. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. And when I looked through the years, the conventional model, there's a lot of things that it does really well. Like when you have an acute illness, or you need immediate surgery or some sort of accident, they're so good at pulling together all the information and being able to give you a really great treatment plan and really save your life. And what I found was that once we get people, especially cancer patients, once we get them into remission, the conventional system had a hard time keeping them there. And what I wanted to know was, if we can get them into remission and we can do all of this really great treatment, what is preventing them from staying in remission? And what I understood as I was doing my research was that there was things that led up to a cancer diagnosis that we weren't addressing in a conventional model. And so by looking at some of the things like movement and how that helps heal our bodies, or connecting to the earth, or what we eat, those things also need to be part of the treatment plan. And we need to be able to be open to connecting our patients with the practitioners that are doing more of the complementary approach. And the complementary, I think of it as like, what can I do to complement my health and healing? And what can I do to complement my conventional system of healing, if that's what I choose as well? And so what I found was that there was a lot of miscommunication and a lot of information that wasn't being passed on to clients about what sort of things they could be doing that weren't contraindicated in a conventional model. You can usually move your body no matter what medication you're on. And so I really wanted to showcase that and use this talking method, like what is the conventional doing, what's the complementary doing. Both are very, very supported in evidence. And I wanted to bridge those gaps together using that integrated model of healing people, full spirit, mind, body healing. And so that's what I think integrative care feels like for me, and what I promote with my clients.
Whenever people think about cancer, the overriding emotion that presents itself is complete and utter paralyzing fear. It's just utter fear everywhere. So what are the modes of support that you have for people who have gotten an initial diagnosis, who are scared to death, right? Because for them, cancer is usually a one-way road as far as they're concerned, especially when they know someone who is either died of cancer and so on. So what is the advice that you would give to someone who just received an initial diagnosis?
Well, one of the things that I noticed the general population has on board, and it is from messaging from the system, is that there's a lot of shame of like, you did something to create this, and then the treatment modalities that we had in the past around conventional models is really scary. And so there's this fear on board right away as soon as you hear someone that has cancer or that you have a diagnosis that you have cancering cells. And it puts you into this kind of, what did I do? How do I prevent it? How do I get rid of it? And what I always tell my clients is, let's just slow that process down. Let's just not make decisions based on facts, fear, or force, but let's really pull back and increase our education and knowledge about what cancer actually is. And from what I understand and all of my reading and all my research and, the training that I did, is that we all have cancering cells in our body. We all have a cell that hasn't really multiplied or divided the way that it was supposed to. And the role of our body is to be in rest mode, in parasympathetic mode, and search and find all the cells that aren't replicating properly. And it does that naturally. It does that. That's innate. That's all of us. And so we get scared because we now have maybe a clump of cells that are, dividing really quickly, yet not really understanding that we have that to begin with. So what can we do on a day-to-day basis to prevent the body from not recognizing it? So what happens sometimes is that we're in stress mode, we're in movement mode, we're not paying attention to our body. And then because of that, our body is not able to do that scan. And our bodies do that full body scan when we're sleeping and when we're in rest mode. And so it's really important for the public to understand that we have mechanisms built inside of us that help heal our body automatically. You don't need to do anything to do that. You just need to give it the space to rest and heal. And so the first thing I say to my clients is, let's just slow down. Let's get you into that rest mode, that heal mode, so that you are not making these decisions about your health based on facts, fear, or force, and that you're trusting your body's own innate wisdom and intuition to be able to make decisions for this next step. And I don't want my clients to make a next step out of fear. I want to bring in that knowledge and awareness about how their body actually works and how it actually functions. And there's a lot of misinformation about that in the general public. So that's why this course is so good, because it brings us back to the foundation of how our bodies work and what it needs to do to heal. And it needs people, it needs connections, it needs movement, it needs good food. It needs us to recognize emotions and release emotions that are pent up. Like, those are the things that are so valuable and important in our healing journey, in addition to the treatment that we choose.
Okay, I have one very important question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misinformation online where cancer is concerned. I've heard of some radical therapies, including using extract from a frog. Like, I was just online today looking. And let me tell you, this misinformation between complementary and the conventional model has some sort of dangers for people, right? Because people get desperate. Mm-hmm. In the absence of support, there is, and this is what you're doing, you're fixing that problem with your workshop. In the absence of support, people become desperate and they will try anything. Mm-hmm. What is your advice for people who are lacking the support? Apart from, absolutely go to this lady's workshop. Please go to this lady's workshop, right? Do not get desperate and do not panic. But Sarah, what is your advice to these people?
Yeah, there is a lot of misinformation out there. And then there's actually a lot of great information that's not being shared. So my suggestion is really find out who your support system is and bridge yourself and connect yourself with integrative health practitioners. There's a lot of naturopathic doctors, nurse practitioners, oncologists that have an integrative model and approach to that. And so you're not just stuck with the one opinion or the one model. There is enough information out there. And the problem is that it's hard to curate it for yourself, because you're tired and you're sick and you're afraid and you're in fear. And so one of the things that we're doing with the integrative health network is we're pulling in the content, the evidence, the research. Here's what's actually available. Here's how it does work in your body. And then teaching you, especially in my program and in my one-to-one coaching, I teach people how to find out which of those treatment modalities feel really good inside of our bodies, because our bodies are actually always talking to us, but we've been trained to not listen anymore, or disregard the headache or the stomach ache or the earache as like, oh, as not really important signs or symptoms. And then we take a Tylenol or an Advil or whatever we do to mask symptoms. And so what I want to usually train my clients to do is start to notice the little nuances of your body, to be able to know what feels good and make a decision from that space of wisdom, rather than from a place of, I can give you lots of facts, I can make you be in fear, I can force you to do a treatment. Lots of practitioners work that way. And it's just not the way to sustainable change. And there's lots of research on change as a change model or sustainable change. And it just leads to more and more of fact, force, and fear are not the ways. No matter if you've had a heart attack and you're dying one day and then they've recovered you and then now you're like feeling better, you might sustain a change from fact, force, and fear for a month, as the literature shows, at 1 month. That's how long the change sustains. When in fact, I want my clients to sustain the change that they need for years, and not just be in remission for 5 years, but be in remission for 10, 20, 30 till the end of their lifetime. And so in order to do that, the complementary model and the conventional model, they need to talk. And I want my clients to know that that conventional model, the chemotherapy, biotherapy, does a really good job getting them into a place where they have not a lot of cancer in their bodies. But now what we want to do is, after that, how can we keep you in that mode? And there has to be some changes, because your body wouldn't have allowed all that cancer to grow unless there were some parts of it that were essentially being ignored, or you weren't allowed to clear out the cancering cells on your own. So it's really valuable to see the whole picture. We need both models. We can't really sustain a change without both models. And that doesn't mean that you can't go into remission if you don't take a conventional model. That's not what I'm saying. But there are times in a treatment where it is okay to kind of look at, well, what is biotherapy? What is chemotherapy? What are these drugs? How are they working in my body? And do they feel intuitive for me? Not because I'm afraid of them, but because they actually, I have enough information to make a decision. And that doesn't really happen in our system right now.
Understood. Here's a question for you. How important is the mental and psychological component in radical remission?
That's a great question. So if you look at the 10 factors in radical remission content, the 10 things that help you stay in remission, that people who are in remission, they all of them do these 10 things. Of those 10, only 3 are an outside-in approach. Only 3 are herbs, movement, and diet. Those are the 3 external things that you can do to help keep you in remission. The other factors, they're all that mental and spiritual aspects. And so what that shows us in the research is that healing cannot just be a physical thing. You can't just take a drug. You can't just change your diet. You can't just move and be like, oh, I'm good now, or why didn't this work? You have to start doing the work internally, and that work takes time, and it also takes really good a team approach and really good practitioners to help you work through that mind, body, spirit aspect. We can't just focus on the mind or just the body or the spirit. You have to combine them all to bring that whole holistic way of healing. So it's extremely important, and the literature shows how important it is.
I love the fact that you keep referencing the literature. There's a lot of evidence-based approaches that are a little bit harsh, I will say this, right? But I think with, I like Kelly Turner's approach. She did a quantitative analysis of people who were actually, hacking the system and actually staying in remission. And she presented the evidence. I love it. I love this kind of approach. Sarah, tell us about evidence-based versus other approaches.
That's a really big question, David, because my training is a conventional model training. Like I went to, a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and I went and did my master's, and so I'm trained to think in evidence-based ways.
Yep.
It's part of my practice, and so the other thing that I do, what I also learned in my practice and studying it, is that sometimes evidence is biased. And what we want to do is we want to have practitioners that are looking at the research and saying, okay, who did the research? How many people? What kind of study was it? Who funded the study? What are the biases of the researchers? Do they have any background in trauma-informed practice, or do they have any, experience in racism even, or in sexism? Because a lot of our research is done by male researchers who study male participants, and now we're learning about the female body from that research.
That's a very valid point you've just made.
So what I'm trained to do, and a lot of the integrative practitioners are trained to do, is just really take all that into consideration to be able to see, okay, what do I need to take from that content, the knowledge translation, and deliver that to my clients in a way that is taking into account all of the biases that are intentional and maybe unintentional.
Yes.
And what we love about systematic reviews, and a systematic review is when we see a lot of research about the same topic and they put it all together to kind of give you this overview.
Yep.
That's the research that we're really looking for when we're offering a modality or some type of treatment. I don't want just one researcher doing it on the off in the jungle of Amazon. I don't know. I don't want that. I want to know that there's other practitioners finding the same results that are of different understandings and different backgrounds to be able to create, hey, we're finding this helpful too. We saw this over here in this country, and this is one of the reasons why I love the blue zones. I'm not sure if you have heard about the blue zones, but they're places in the world where people live the longest. And what are they doing to live the longest? Why are they living long? And it's fascinating research. And what they're finding is, no matter where you are in the world, these people are all doing the same thing. That's great research. That's great research. And to be able to curate it and pull it in. And that's what Kelly Turner did. She looked at all these cases worldwide. What were people doing to stay in remission, no matter of their age, sex, background, religious affiliates? What were they doing? And she curated it together and said, here's what I found. And it's being now collaborated with Harvard University. They're actually finalizing a study on Kelly Turner's work, and we're going to find those results actually in a couple months here, of the impact that this workshop, the lifestyle factors have on people's lives to keeping them in remission. So it's really exciting.
I absolutely am excited about that. I would really love to get the findings of that. Actually, when you get that, please forward it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, it's very important for people to know that there is help out there. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, when they receive a diagnosis or when they're in treatment, they don't realize how alone they are. Okay? And people don't realize that you could have a whole bunch of people around you and still be alone.
Yeah.
Right? And so this aloneness, this is where the need for a cancer coach is important. Mm-hmm. Because cancer coaches have actually seen people go through this, mm-hmm. and have had to be upfront and right there. What I've found is that a lot of people, when they receive a diagnosis, there are two groups of people that they encounter. People who overcompensate by saying, you should do this, you should do that, you should do third. And then there are people who just run away because they don't want to see it. It reminds them of their own mortality. Right? And a lot of people listening to this broadcast would have actually experienced something like this. It may not have been cancer. It may be something else. That it might have been a scare, and people may run away, or they have a whole bunch of advice to give you. So for the people who are watching this broadcast who are going through this stuff, what is your advice to them?
Mm-hmm. I love that question. Um, my biggest advice, and one of the factors to staying in remission, one of the factors actually is looking at your support system, and finding out who are the people that are in your inner circle and who are the people that are in your outer circle. The people in your inner circle are the ones that believe in your innate healing, that believe in your healing, and are going to help you to remember who you are. And what I mean by that is that lots of us get caught up in this idea that I'm sick. And what I do as a cancer coach is I say, I want you to remember your health. Because although you may have an aspect of your cells that are cancering, your eyes work and your legs work and your mouth works and your body works and, stomach works. All these parts of you are healthy. And so what we want to do is we want to really tenderly take care of the parts that are cancering, and we need a team to help us do that. And then we also need a team to help us remind us that we're really innately healthy and well.
Yeah.
And so by having these discussions with my clients and just saying, let's just unpack this a little bit. There's people that really want to be in your circle. What are their strengths? What can they help you do? And what can we do to create this network of people that are going to walk beside you along this journey? And maybe not all the way, but maybe they veer off and they come back and veer off and come back, because they might have just something to do, like, I don't know, bring you some cut flowers, and that's all they do. Like, that's your friend, right? And so just like we wouldn't ask your oncologist to give you a nutrition plan, you're not going to ask your friends to give you advice on therapies. You need trained professionals, you need practitioners, you need to have even just this integrative health network to say, hey, there's some things that are available for me that are evidence-based that I really want to look into. And having practitioners around you, like a coach, helps you to sift through that and put you on a really great path that is that you're held in, and a container that you're held in, so you don't get overwhelmed with all the information and all the content and all the well wishes and whatnot, because it's disconcerting sometimes of maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe I'm not doing enough. And what you want practitioners that are really holding good space for you and being able to say, you are as much of the medicine as I am in this room. Your cat is medicine. Your bed is medicine. You're doing enough is medicine. You're resting is medicine. And so we have this big idea of, am I enough? Am I doing enough? What did I do to create this? And I'm not going to want to create this again. And we have this fear again around it. And what we want to really do, especially with Integrative Health Network and what we're creating here together with David and I, is create a container for people to remember again who they are on a foundational level, that they are healers of their own bodies. And we want to educate them, empower them, and connect them to the right people. So there's support and there's love here for patients and for practitioners, because practitioners also don't know what to say. And so this course actually isn't just for patients, it's for practitioners to learn about very easy ways to help you teach your clients what to do, that will not be contraindicated. Because what I have found is a lot of practitioners say, I don't talk about or have a lot of cancer patients because I don't know how to help them, because their cases are very complicated. And what this workshop does, it helps them to say, oh, I know how to help them move. I can support them in fostering, positive relationships, or, creating a support system. So it takes the guesswork out of them being open to holding containers for cancer patients or any other patients with chronic illness.
Yes, and you mentioned something there that is very important. The stakeholder buy-in to a course like this should be something that y'all shouldn't have to think about it. Okay, guys, y'all shouldn't have to think about it. One of the stakeholders that you missed mentioning are the caretakers of people who are in remission or trying to stay in remission or who have received a diagnosis. These people are the hardest hit. because one of the things, they do not know what to do. So you have a husband whose wife has been diagnosed and who is beginning that journey. And that man may love that woman, but he has absolutely no idea where to begin, where to start. And if you are that man, contact Sarah and absolutely get yourself in this course. What advice do you have for people who are the caretakers of patients of cancer, as an example?
It has been very interesting, David, that you bring that up, because a lot of my referrals to patients have come from family members. So a husband or a wife finding my information and then us working as a family to help bring someone into remission together. And I love that approach. So one of the reasons that happens is because the patients that are going through cancering cells or cancering diagnosis is they're really tired and they don't feel good and they don't know how to reach out. And so their family members come alongside. So the advice that I would have for family members is set yourself up with the supports and the connections that you need, and the knowledge that you need to really help your loved one. And this course is also for that. It's packed full of information for them as well.
Listen, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. Are there any last words you have for our audience?
Oh, last words is you are more powerful than you think. No matter if you are going through a chronic illness or not, that your body is divinely made and it has a connection in it that really wants to lean towards healing and wellness. And so don't lose hope. We're here. We have a really great integrative health network that we're organizing and pushing and promoting to be able to provide a lot of resources for practitioners and patients. So really excited to offer that.
So guys, if you are watching this video, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook or whatever the case may be, I want you guys to actually meet Sarah in a very one-on-one, a personalized meeting, whether it's inside the workshop or whatever else. The reason why that is because Sarah has the tools and the knowledge to assist a lot of people. Okay, Sarah is going to be part of our integrative health network, and she is going to be, putting out that information that people actually need. Okay, so Sarah, give these people a way to get in contact with you.
Yes, I'm on Instagram at sarahelizabethcoaching.com. I have a website, actually, www.sarahelizabethcoaching.com. I'm on LinkedIn, and you can find me also at the Integrative Health Network on our website when we make that live.
Excellent. Guys, I will see you in the next broadcast. Take care.
Thank you.